Champagne and Caviar. Four Weimar classic films from Germany in the early 30s before the Third Reich. Now we're going to read the back. Champagne and Caviar, four Weimar comedies, 1931, 1930, deluxe 2-disc Blu-ray edition. Flicker Alley, in partnership with Sunrise Foundation for Educational Arts and fiscal sponsorship of Villa Aura, Thomas Mann House, is pleased to present four musical comedies from the late years of the Weimar Republic, showing Champagne and Caviar days of German cinema at the stark contrast to the dawn of one owns history's darkest period. Feature films include The Private Secretarian. Renate Mueller plays the title role in director Wilhelm Thiel's workplace comedy adapted from the 1905 Istvan Zamhazy, about a young woman who goes to work in a bank in search for a wealthy husband. Der Brave Sunder, The Upright Sinner, 1931. Max Pallenberg stars as Leopold Pichler, a hapless, dedicated banker tasking and transporting money to Vienna, who is unknowingly part of a larger financial scheme and part of his boss. Directed by Fritz Kortner, The Upright Sinner, based on an Alfred Polgar play, The Embezzler, in turn based on the novel by Valentin Kate. Die Koffer der Herm, O.F., The Trunks of Mr. O.F., 1931, directed by Alexander Granowski, featuring Peter Lorre and Hedy Lamarr. The Trunks of Mr. O.F. follows a small German town turn itself upside down in order to impress an imagined visitor whose extravagant luggage arrives at the local hotel. Ich bei Tag und bei Nacht. One by day and one by night. Ludwig Berger's directed charming romance between Greta, Kathy Von Nagy, and Hans, Billy Fritsch, two boarders who rent the same room, one during day and the other at night, and likely influence on Billy Wilder's apartment. I by day, you by night is also infused with an all-singing, all-dancing celebration of power cinema. Bonus feature includes audio commentary by Dice Secretarian Lucas Forster, and German film critic and programmer. Der Brave Sunder, Nadine Rosal, professor of modern European history at Essex University, and additional insight Lucas Forster. Die Koffers des Herm, O.F., by Angiana Hans, professor of German studies affiliated with faculties of cinema media studies at Wesley College, and Ich by Tag, Du by Nacht, by Christian Rogowski, professor in language and literature in the Department of German, Amherst College, and a souvenir essay. Now it comes with a souvenir, see, book. And this book here, generally speaking, this book here tells about the early talking period of the German film cinema before Hitler took over, and how when Hitler took over, he threw all the operettas away and replaced it with backstage musicals, known as theater review films, something like that. And here's what it looks like inside. And I think it has a switchable cover, I think. Yep. See, either side is your choice. And generally speaking, even though there are 4 movies in here, I'm going to watch all 4 of them, but I'm just going to review one because it's one that I find important rather than 4 of them. I might discuss the 3 others maybe, but I'm more interested in one of them mainly. I'm back. Now I'm going to tell you my favorite one, Private Private Secretary. I've been waiting on this for years, hearing the songs I'm So Happy and My Auntie to be put on Blu-ray. Now the negative isn't perfect. It was restored by variations of 16mm surviving copies. And there was an incomplete 35mm print I read in some earlier resources. And I know for one thing that this is not the first version neither. It was not only shot in a German version, but it was shot Italian and French version too. And surprisingly, the British version was the first version. It seems like Renate Müller went to Britain to shoot it first as Susie Sunshine, possibly because she was having an affair with the son of a Jewish banker, and she might have been going to Britain because of the slowly rising anti-Semitism. It made her a star, and then she went back to Germany to do that version. Now the story reflects the Depression in Germany. Renate Müller portrays a trained secretary, a typist, and she comes from a German town, enters a big German city, and this man is trying to make a pass at her, but she manages to manipulate him to get her a cab and leaves her behind. She ends up going to this special place for working women. And then you see the working women during lunchtime complaining about how they have the same food all the time. The cheese and just tea and nothing else. And they use, and in the dialogue they use the word bitch because the German audiences didn't get offended at that curse word like they would do in Hollywood in the United States. Now at the house, she does go to her first dinner with the other women, and she talks about her ambition about wanting to marry the boss, and everybody laughs at her about it. Now, the next day she looks for a job. She goes to this office building, and she notices these 2 other women are being turned down by Felix Bressart, where he fled Germany. He was the door manager. And she goes up and tries to ask for a job, and he turns her down too. But then she notices that he's practicing voice lessons, and she tries to manipulate him through that, and it turns out that he's a member of a chorus group. He's going to perform tonight at some place, and she manages to persuade him to talk to the other people to get them to hire her. And so he goes to the other manager and tries to persuade him, and then Bressart goes back to her and tells her that she can go see him, the other man, but she hadn't told him just yet that he's ready to, that she was looking for a job. And so she goes in, and he thinks that she's a saleswoman, and then she she tells the truth. She's looking for a job. At first, she turns him down, and then finally, she persuades him to hire her on the account that they get together personally, because there was one more empty desk for another typewriter. But she just goes along with him in order to get the job. I had thought that Renate Muller's song, Ich bin hu ja so glücklich, ich bin hu ja so glücklich, yeah, ich bin hu ja so glücklich, was actually saying when she was in her secretarial pool, happy she got a job. But that was a portrayal in the 1960 autobiography of her with Ruth Lurick, I think Ruth Lurick, in a recreation of the scene. Now, I've heard the audio version of this, and it's a little bit different than the one in the film. The audio version, after she sang the whole song, a male chorus comes out and sings refrain. But in truth, the song starts when she's walking down the street to go back to her apartment, and she sings in her apartment the song, Ich bin hu ja so glücklich, I think, yeah. And in the record version, as I said, you have this male chorus coming out. But in the film version, the refrain is sang by a woman chorus. Usually the women are living in that building. Well, she avoids getting together with a manager, so he makes her work overtime. And as everybody's going home, she's forced to do all this extra work, and the boss, played by Herman Thimmage, notices it, but he doesn't let her know he's the boss. And she complains that she needs an extra help, so he offers the assistance, and then he changes her mind, saying, well, it's getting dinner time, why don't we go out and eat? And she agrees with it, and she suggests the place where Felix Bresshard is going to perform his chorus singing. Now they go to the place where Felix Bresshard and some group of chorus singers are going to perform, and Bresshard noticed that Thimmage is with her, and he goes up to her later, goes up to Bresshard later and tells him not to let her know that he's the boss. Thimmage is not the boss. So he agrees with it, but he gets confused. He doesn't understand. And one of the musical numbers, Ich hab me alti tanti. Ich hab me alti tanti. Well, once again, the audio version was at a faster pace. And in this version, Ich hab me alti tanti is moderate pace. Now, Thimmage as pretending to be an average employer, falls in love with her, but she tells him nicely she wants to marry a rich man, so he gets disappointed. And a lot earlier, as she and Bresshard and Thimmage would get drunk with champagne, she make a claim to them that she knew the boss, and the boss was fat and bald-headed, and Bresshard gets nervous because the boss is there, and he's afraid he's gonna fire her, and so he just goes along with it. He's just going along with it. The next day, as the boss is entering the secretarial pool, greeting the secretaries, that's when she finds out that Simage is the boss, and she's so upset and nervous because she insulted him. So she tries to go to the boss and to apologize to him, but the secretary just won't let him. So Bressart comes with a plan that he would send his stuffy old secretary to Dresden, and that she would be the replacement for the secretary. And then when Thimis discovers this, he later discovered that it was a big fat trick, so he almost fires Bressart and her both. Almost. But then he asked to go to his place to finish the writing, finish the shorthand for the report or for the letter to the businessman. So more mishaps happen from that. The next feature, The Upright Sinner, Max Pallenberg is a banker, and Heinz Reumann plays his assistant. And some crook comes in claiming that he needs some money, a certain amount of money, and that he's going to pick it up before he takes the train. And Heinz Reumann is in love with Max Pallenberg's daughter, whom I thought was a teenager, probably 18 anyway, because he has two spoiled brat children. But anyway, acting bad children. But anyway, they've discovered later he went to Vienna, and so they decide to proceed to go to a certain nightclub where they're supposed to receive the money. But he never gets the money. He never shows up. And then they lead to a gambling. They lead to wait a minute. And then he ends up kind of getting involved with a black female dancer. I don't think it was sexual implication, but it gets close. And I bet you this picture could have been shown in the South back in the 1930s. They probably couldn't even show a German film, World War I Resentment. Well, anyway, a American black actress dancer, lesser known, doing a impersonation of Josephine Baker, and then they end up going to a gambling table, and they end up almost practically losing the money, and they're so embarrassed that they committed embezzlement. A good surprise comes out of this. The next film, The Trunks of Mr. O.F., what makes this very interesting is that it stars a very young Hedy Lamarr when she was a teenager, playing the daughter of a mayor, played by Alfred Abel, in a little old town called Ostend, which is living behind the times of 1931 or 32, and they're living around the styles and times of the 19-teens. A mistake is made when a bunch of huge trunks claiming to come from Mr. O.F. comes into that small little town, to that small little hotel, and then everybody thinks that he's important. And then everybody in that place decides to modernize themselves to back to that current time, 1931. And Peter Lorre, co-stars in this picture, plays a reporter who makes up a story, claims that he knows Mr. O.F. And at that time, he was a little bit overweight the way he would be back in the 1960s. Not as much, but contrary to his lean, slender look in the Maltese Falcon. But he starts making up this story so he can take opportunity of this. Before you know it, there's plans to build an opera theater and a city hall, and to increase the rooms of the little hotel, and not only that, at a nightclub. And all the women there who dressed up in World War I headdresses now are dressing up in modern 1931 hairdos at the time. And they hire a woman singer and a bunch of chorus dancers, and the town just becomes more exciting. And oh yeah, I just remember they also hired a new jazz band. And for the first time, Americans will hear for the first time Alfred Abel speak, since they only seen him silent in Metropolis. And it seems like this fairy tale, which is typical of Depression era fantasy, a small town becomes a big, important, huge city all of a sudden. The movie I by Day and You by Night, this is not like the 1934 American film Rafter Romance, because that was based on an American novel. This is entirely different. Billy Fridge plays a waiter, and he has a friend who runs a projection in a movie theater. And Kathy Von Nagy is a manicurist. So she rents the room by night while he rents the same room by day. It's kind of ridiculous, but anyhow, the movie also satirizes film musicals for a 1932 film. They have portrayed set up musical sequence that's supposed to be part of films, and it's staged as part of the movie. And when they first meet, they're not aware that they're staying in the same room, and he gets the impression that she has a sugar daddy when that's a client. And then later on, she gets the impression that he's involved with the sugar daddy's daughter, who is involved with another man that her father disapproves of. And there's a scene which they visit the Frederick the Great Museum. Is called Sanssouci. His house is a museum by that time. And they accidentally get locked up by night, at night. And she has a client who has an interest in her, might be in love with her, he might be just wanting to get together with her sexually. And there's very much of a mishap in this picture. Now, this was different, as you know, from the 1934 Rafter Romance and 1938 Living on Love. It had nothing to do with it. So, what's also interesting is that Luigi Berger directed this. And in 1930, he was in the United States shooting Paramount's first all-talking, singing, and dancing musical, The Vagabond King, in Technicolor, two-strip Technicolor, which has been restored since the early 90s, but the owners still don't show no interest in putting out on home video. Copyright problem. Oh well. Anyhow, where is it? I truly hope that you enjoyed this review of this whole series, Champagne and Caviar, 4 Weimar comedies, 1931 to 1932, and help you to introduce and understand the early talkies of Germany before Hitler took over and destroyed everything. Bye.